On a really critical issue that's come up recently, from changes to New Zealand's electoral law. The Parliament's decision to pass some pretty significant changes to enrollment rules under urgency has, well, it sparked a vigorous national discussion.
It certainly has. It's a discussion about the balance between, on the one hand, administrative efficiency, and on the other, making sure every single eligible person can actually vote.
Exactly. And at the heart of it is this new, earlier deadline for enrollment. The central question we're tackling today is this. Does this change primarily serve a legitimate, necessary administrative function, or does it actually create an unacceptable barrier to voter participation? I'll be arguing that these changes are a rational step, one that promotes order and encourages timely civic engagement.
And I'll be arguing that these new rules are a clear case of prioritizing convenience over the core democratic principle of inclusion. And frankly, the way the law was passed, using urgency, well, that just undermined public trust and bypassed essential scrutiny.
Okay, so let me just lay out the rationale here. The move toward earlier deadlines isn't meant to be punitive. It's a rational administrative reform. The stated goal is improving administrative efficiency and reducing pressure on election day processing. For the Electoral Commission, this allows for much better planning. It stabilizes the electoral roll well before the election. Welcome to The Debate. This show, presented by WebfitNews, focuses on a really critical issue that's come up recently, from changes to New Zealand's electoral law. The Parliament's decision to pass some pretty significant changes to enrollment rules under urgency has, well, it sparked a vigorous national discussion.
It certainly has. It's a discussion about the balance between, on the one hand, administrative efficiency, and on the other, making sure every single eligible person can actually vote.
Exactly. And at the heart of it is this new, earlier deadline for enrollment. The central question we're tackling today is this. Does this change primarily serve a legitimate, necessary administrative function, or does it actually create an unacceptable barrier to voter participation? I'll be arguing that these changes are a rational step, one that promotes order and encourages timely civic engagement.
And I'll be arguing that these new rules are a clear case of prioritizing convenience over the core democratic principle of inclusion. And frankly, the way the law was passed.
Money. Because right now, the rules of the game here in New Zealand, they've just been totally flipped on their head. So if you've got a mortgage, maybe some savings, or you're even thinking about buying a house, you're going to want to stick around. We're going to lay out the winning strategy for what's coming next. So let's kick things off with a puzzle, a big one that's probably on your mind right now. The Reserve Bank just went and cut interest rates. So why in the world isn't your mortgage getting any cheaper? It feels like it should, right? Well, it turned out there's a really interesting reason why it's not, and we're going to unpack it. And to really get our heads around this, we need to take a step back, because what we're looking at is a massive turning point for New Zealand's economy. Seriously, this is a huge deal. And here's the number that started it all, 2.25%. That's the new official cash rate, or OCR. And with this single move, the Reserve Bank has basically stood up and said, the war is over. The fight against that inflationary dragon we've all been feeling, they're saying they've won. And what that really signals is we've probably hit the bottom of the interest rate cycle. So, why do this? What's the point? Well, the goal is pretty simple, really. It's all about kickstarting the economy. The thinking is, if you make it cheaper for the big banks to borrow money, they'll turn around and make it cheaper for us to borrow money. For mortgages, for businesses, you get the idea. Okay, so that brings us right back to our big mystery. If the official rate is going down, why aren't our fixed mortgage rates doing the same thing? In fact, some are even ticking up. It doesn't seem to add up, does it? All right, let's get into the weeds here, because this is the bit you really need to understand. First things first, you got to know there are two different kinds of rates we're talking about. The OCR, that's the official cash rate, is like the master switch for floating mortgage rates, the ones that can change from month to month. When the OCR moves up or down, those floating rates pretty much follow in lockstep. But, and this is a big but, the fixed-term rates that most of us are on, that's a whole different ballgame. They aren't priced on what the OCR is doing today. Nope. They're priced on what the market thinks the OCR is going to do in the future. It's all based on these things called wholesale swap rates, which are basically a big educated bet on the future. And here's the crazy part. Look at this. After the Reserve Bank cut the official rate, you'd expect these swap rates to drop too, right? Wrong. They actually went up. The 2-year and 5-year rates, the ones that decide your mortgage rate, they climbed. The market was basically saying, nice try, but we already knew you were going to do that. It's priced in, and we're already looking ahead and we don't see any more cuts on the horizon. So what does that all mean for you? It means the market was way ahead of the game. That rate cut wasn't a surprise to them at all. They get desperate. And right now, they are fighting tooth and nail for your business. This war is being fought on two main battlegrounds. Battleground number one, cold, hard cash. ANZ came out swinging with a huge 1.5% cashback offer. I mean, that's potentially thousands of dollars in your pocket. It completely shook things up, and now the other banks are being forced to quietly match it just to stop their customers from jumping ship. And the second battleground is green loans for things like insulation or solar panels. And you have to see what Westpac is doing here. They're offering 0% interest for 5 years on up to $50,000.